Do you ever look back at stuff from your 20s and wonder what you were thinking? Me and Adam definitely do, and our teenage years as well. So we thought it'd be cool to do a bit of an episode to break down the things we thought were cool in our 20s, but now me in my late 30s, Adam in his very early 40s, seem embarrassing, immature, or just lame. So, is it going to be the sleepless nights, the chasing women and experiences? Probably sometimes, and avoiding responsibility. We're going to unpack all of those habits that we've outgrown and cover why leaving them behind is essential to becoming a successful and grounded midlife human. So, Adam.
Well, thanks. It's always good to be reminded about being in middle age, just like the previous episode. It's a great feeling.
I'm not looking forward to going through the things I regret doing in my 20s, and even thinking about the things that I've outgrown in my 30s. It makes me cringe, even just talking on the top level of the subject. So,
but do you think the reminiscing will make us, by the end of the episode, we'll be like, all right, dude, let's go out tonight. I'm going to wear skinny jeans. Going to go clubbing all night.
Yeah, let's suit up and throw out all the personal development that we've been working on throughout our 30s and 40s.
Exactly. Sounds like a plan.
Absolutely. So I guess we can go one at a time, bringing things to the table in a room 101 style effort. And I think some of it we will reflect in the same way because we have similar backgrounds and we definitely have a similar history. And others we might keep some of it, we might keep and you might want rid of. So we will see as we go through. And I think we can even go back to teenagers. So when you were a teenager, did you used to wear those jeans that are like massive?
I never had any of the like really massive ones, but I did have some of the like kind of baggy ones. And then after that, I guess I went, I don't know, I guess I was into like grunge and Nirvana and stuff like that. So I went through a phase of ripped jeans, but that kind of lasted a decade or two.
What he means is he's still got ripped jeans on right now. We just can't see them.
The weather's hotter here, so it's ripped shorts. But there was also a combat pants kind of phase as well. I guess I was tied in with like new metal. But at one stage, I used to wear quite random things during my teens. So just randomly for no reason sort of go, oh, I'll wear a pinstripe suit today with green Doc Martens.
You were one of those.
Random weirdos.
Yeah. See, it was definitely that new metal scene. There was a catalog you had to order these things from called Outlaw, I think, or Outrage or something. Or Attitude was one of these companies, Attitude catalog, and they'd sell like, studded wrist accessories and I never wore the studded wrist accessories. I was a very plain and simple massive hoodie with some band of the age or a mushroom or something random on the front, and then those jeans that are just so baggy that you could get your head in them twice, and I've got a pretty big head, and and also with a chain maybe hanging off the jeans.
I still have a chain on my trousers today, but it's just like a smaller keychain rather than, I guess, when I was late teens or something, it'd be an actual thick sort of dog chain kind of thing.
Yeah, those were the days. I definitely spent
the catalog that you mentioned. I remember having something like that where you could order like you could order band T-shirts, or you could get like patches and stuff like that. But you could get your mom to sew onto things.
So cool. Yeah, and then the idea would be you'd be quite happy as the back starts to get frayed over the back of your trainers on those super baggy jeans as well, because it just adds to the overall look.
Yeah, for sure.
And skate trainers.
Skate trainers are great. Dead comfortable.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think I've ever grown out of skate trainers, and I don't wear them now because, as you just mentioned, we live in Vietnam, so I don't wear anything apart from flip flops. To be honest, I'm very much. I mean, although then again, I would probably do that if I lived in the UK. My brother is 10 years older than me, and he always wears shorts and flip flops, even if it's like December.
Yeah, some people are mad like that. I can't. I could never get away with it.
It's middle-aged bald man look. Yeah, it's what middle-aged bald men do. Plus, I quite like that middle-aged bald men. I told you that's the demographic for it, and that with my knees are now hairy again because the jeans don't wear off the front. I never wear I never wear jeans anymore. So you get bald knees and bald on the inside of your thighs if you wear trousers all the time. Not the trousers we used to wear in our teenage years because they were so baggy you could get like your ex-girlfriend in there at the time as well as you. Particularly being like 7 stone wet through or whatever. But yeah, it is funny. And I've also entered the age of wearing a vest and a shirt on the outside.
Right. I haven't adopted that kind of look yet. I have thought about it, but need to go vest shopping at some point.
Yeah, like a plain wife beater vest style, and then a nice colourful flower shirt over the outside is a look that I find quite strong with shorts and flip flops.
Definitely something that'll age well and you'd never have any regrets about.
Yeah. So those clothes we used to wear, do we hate them now, or do we still secretly think that was quite cool?
I think some of it was kind of cool and probably still is in some ways. Some of it maybe not so much, but then again, you always have that thing where things with fashion, it seems to be sort of like circular. So it'll be in fashion for a bit, then it's not, then it's kind of cool again. I always remember I had this magic DVD. There's a magician called Bill Malone, and he always used to kind of like heckle like the spectators and have this banter with them. But he'd be like, "Say, that's a nice shirt. Keep wearing it long enough, it'll come back in style," and things like that. But that's completely true. It kind of does. Like all of a sudden, for a while, people were wearing flares, and then flares were not cool, and then they were again. And you get that with everything. Maybe someday those massive jeans will be the height of fashion again as well, because it went from that to like the really skinny ones.
Yeah, but I also think there's like a subculture that crosses the ages and has crossed the ages since like the 60s. And they're always into the same kind of alternative music and scene. And there's like that hippie vibe and dreadlocks and like this kind of mixed scene version. And they usually start out as what we referred to in the area that I'm from as Rebos. So we used to, growing up, we'd have like Townies and Rebos. And I know everywhere kind of has a different sort of version of this. But where I was from in Lincolnshire, it was Townies and Rebos. And the Townies were basically the chavs. And they'd be like in Burberry baseball caps and poppers and stuff, you know, and like sports style outfits, tracksuits basically. And they would be the Townies. And then there would be like the Rebos. And the Rebos were more into, you know, the baggy clothes and the long hair and all of that kind of vibe. And the music split would basically be they're all into like house and that kind of vibe, rave music, and this side's all into like rock and metal and Slipknot and all of that kind of vibe. And there'd always be these mythical stories that the two groups would be fighting each other and stuff, which I don't really ever remember seeing happen ever. But it was like a split, and you were either this group or that group. And ironically, those two groups merge in the 20s again and become sort of this one hybrid group as the Grebo Rocky people get into electronic music, and it's kind of, it crosses back over, but they're both an alternative group, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And it is kind of like that everywhere. So you'd have like the Townies and the Moshers or whatever, but you'd have like subgenres of it as well. So you'd have like, oh, grungers or whatever else.
And the goths. Yeah, you get the goths. Yeah, yeah. There's always like a gothy group and whatnot. Yeah, yeah. And I actually think, as much as I was in the Grebo group because I got on with those people the best, I was more of a townie, really, in who I am now, in the way of like music and whatever else is and stuff. I was actually more that side, but because of the way things worked, like all the people that were in the townie group were total dickheads. Most of them now are like 5 kids deep and on their 3rd wife,
Right,
working in McDonald's.
Good times.
The cool kids, the good-looking kids, and the cool kids at school, they don't have a chance to develop any of their other skills in life, do they? So they kind of they end up kind of finished on the scrap heap by 21.
Yeah, maybe it can be like that in some ways. It's like literally because it's like literally peak at the age of 20 and have everything else downhill from there.
Yeah, I reckon if you went back to every school and asked them, you know, okay, out of your year, who was like the best looking girl and the best looking dude, and then you look at what they're doing now and where they're at now, like generally they'll just be the grossest of people now.
It could be. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out.
On next week's episode, we're doing a subsection of who was the best looking person of your school and how badly have they screwed up their life today?
Who aged the worst?
Yeah, who aged the worst? Exactly, exactly. So what else have we got there on the list? I think clothes are staying in. I think that there's a part of growing up that the clothes that you used to wear, you would think were cool, and then eventually you wouldn't wear them now, but you still think that they're pretty cool.
Did you ever? So we had like the really, really baggy trousers. Years later, it got through to the phase of like skinny jeans, but like unbelievably skinny jeans where it almost looks like someone's like just got a spray can and sort of sprayed them on.
Yeah, I remember it, but I was never part of it, and it's the same reason I was always a boxer short wearer from the age of about 3 or 4. I don't like to be constricted in that area, so skinny jeans just never felt right to me.
I bought some like ones, and then it was just that thing. You basically needed like a shoehorn or something to to put them on. I just looked down and was like, this is ridiculous.
You're like oiling yourself up. Yeah. Yeah. Your Vaseline bills through the roof.
Yeah, and like you say, it's like unbelievably uncomfortable. And I was just like, no, this is not. I mean, skinny-ish jeans were kind of all right, but the truly like skinny ones are just, oh, it's horrible to wear. I was just like,
yeah,
doing this.
No, they never caught on in my household for me, that's for sure. But I do remember it, and to be fair, some millennials have kept that with them, because you do see the odd middle-aged millennial with a beer belly in skinny jeans, and there is no worse
like a
sight.
couple of cocktail sticks and then like this.
Yeah, it looks like a cheese ball in with like some kind of early 90s party, you know, where you get a silver hedgehog thing with loads of cheese balls stuck in it, kind of vibe. But yeah, I think skinny jeans we can definitely leave where they came from. But they've made quite a few appearances in history, because in the 70s it was a thing. You know, like tight jeans would be a thing. Mick Jagger was obviously always in a pair of tight something.
Yeah, well, I guess he always was.
I mean, he is Mick Jagger, though, to be fair. So
you can get away with quite a lot, really, when you're
Mick Jagger. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're not the average loser in tight trousers at that age, you know.
Even at 80, he's still like dancing around the same as he was like 40, 50 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw them at Glastonbury in whenever they were at Glastonbury. It was like 2012, I think. And yeah, I think he did 7 miles on stage during the course of that gig. someone clocked him at 7 miles or something, which is quite
Jeez.
impressive.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's incredibly good.
Although it's only 10% of what most people had to walk to get to that stage from their campsite.
Yeah, which I guess brings us on to another thing, which we talked about in the previous episode, but something that we thought was cool in the past, but not so much now, I guess, festivals.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a tough one for me because sometimes I still think that I might want to go to one. But then I also know that I would need to spend like $5,000 on one of those luxury teepees where they drive you to the stages and you get to go backstage and not have to spend time with all the other punters watching the bands, and only Glastonbury.
There was, I don't know if they still do it anymore, but there was this one, is it All Tomorrow's Parties or something like that? But they used to do this festival in the UK where it was at like Centre Parks. So, and you'd get like a different band or artist that would curate it each year. And so this person would pick like all the bands that they wanted to perform and things like that. But the point I was going to say is it was in like a Centre Park sort of holiday place. So if you go to stay there, it's not staying in tents. You just get a chalet. And so it's kind of like a festival, but kind of civilized in that respect. I think I'd be up for that. I think that still sounds really cool.
Yeah, that sounds similar to when I went to Exit Festival, which is in Novi Sad in Serbia. So you can camp at the festival site, but it's like 38 degrees in July in Serbia. So why would you do that? Basically in a desert in a tent. Or you can rent a very cheap holiday apartment outside of the festival site and get one of the world's cheapest taxis to the festival whenever you want to go, and get one home again when you're finished. And that I could probably cope with. But the idea of loading up the car with crates and crates of beer and whatever else, and tents and all of that kind of stuff, and then walking for miles to find a camping site and then pitching up the tent and having to sleep like that outside and drink for 4 days is not, it's not at the top of my list of things to do.
Go back to the tent. Is your stuff still going to be there or whatever? And I don't know. It's just the whole thing's just like a huge ordeal. I remember going to festivals at like sort of 16 or 18 and getting back and just being absolutely knackered. It was just like unbelievably hard work then. I don't know if like 20 years later or whatever, it would be so much fun.
I went to Shambhala Festival when I was about 28 or 29, just before I moved to Vietnam. And I had to have like a whole week off work afterwards. And I was in bed for like 4 days at the start of it. I was done.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. Like so much so I think I didn't even leave my bedroom to use the toilet. I just peed in a bottle for the first 24 hours because the thought of having to walk out of my room and see my housemates and stuff was just like too much.
Wow. Sounds like it was one hell of a festival.
Yes. Yes, it was. Not to mention the state of the bank balance afterwards.
Good times.
The other thing is just like necking warm alcohol just because that's all there is, and you brought beers with you to drink. And then the whole thing, I don't know, it depends on the festival. Like I really used to not like festivals where they have an arena and a camping area, because basically the reason they do that is just so that they can screw you for more money on alcohol. And I don't know if you've ever been to like Global Gathering or whatever, but they don't even let you bring alcohol through the main gate.
Oh, so everything you have to buy in there.
Yes. So then you go and buy a crate of beer for like £50 in the campsite. And then they don't let you take that beer into the arena either.
Because you got to buy it for like £7 a can or something when you get it
in the actual arena itself. And everyone's so angry there because they know they're just getting ripped off left, right, and center that it's not even enjoyable.
I thought back when I was at one of the Leeds festivals, where it was one of the years where it was kind of like a riot. And so all the chemical toilets were on fire, and there's like just like mayhem breaking out everywhere. But in some ways, you sort of think, well, I'm not surprised. You got a load of people, mainly young people, watching various music, they're getting hyped up, and you've locked them kind of in this place where you're just rinsing them for money, like the entire thing. And people just start getting angry because they just feel like they're being ripped off and taken advantage of. And some people like to just cause mayhem and violence anyway. But
Yeah, and Leeds is rooted in a hard rock festival as well. So historically and traditionally, it's like a hard rock festival. So the people are generally more like wild anyway. And it's tradition to burn everything. That was like part of the tradition of Leeds Festival. So the year I went in 2009, they were just burning stuff like telegraph poles and dragging all the
yeah,
tents on. Someone tried to drag our tent on. They were like, "Oh, but everyone's doing it." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to sleep." We were like in brown camping, which is for families because we knew that it went nuts. I'd left it in the hands of my friend Jamie because I wasn't supposed to go, and he got us tickets last minute for it from one of those Viagogo sites where you buy last minute tickets off people that have decided they don't want to go. And he was like, "Oh, don't worry, mate. I'll sort it out. I'll lend you the money for the ticket. I'll buy all the alcohol." So I get there, and he's got 2 bottles of absinthe, no mixer. Right. Okay.
Sweet.
Cool. This is going to be awesome. It was good fun. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the best gigs I've ever seen. Like Radiohead and stuff were there, and it was decent, but it was just insane. People burning everything, burning tents. There's just like thick, acrid, black smoke in the air by day 3 because people are getting charged £20 for a hot dog.
Yeah, people, rightfully so, are angry. I don't know if burning things is the best solution. But yeah, because you had like Leeds and Reading used to be the same festival, but they'd kind of switch different days. I remember being at Reading one time, and they like to burn things there too. And it was just walking through this camping area, and there's some fire going, and something exploded on the fire. And I'm just walking along, and then all of a sudden, this sort of flaming shoe just sort of starts like spinning it, like just missed my head. It's like I've never been hit by a shoe that's been on fire before or been in danger of it.
No, and then how much it still cost you for the therapy to deal with the post-traumatic stress disorder that was caused by that. It's not what you expect, is it?
It's not.
Let alone the post-traumatic stress disorder from using the bathrooms.
Which at times can be just insane. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
first day it's not great, but then you get to like the last day of the festival, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, and I mean, if I don't know if you've done Glastonbury, but Glastonbury in some ways is a bit better because they have the long drop toilets, and the long drop toilets is like a big tank underneath, and then
Right.
like a circle, like a hole on top. So you're sat above this massive tank. It's a bit gross because obviously you can hear everyone's shit and piss like flying down, but because it's like more open, I don't know. There's something about it that just makes it a little bit less gross than a portaloo, because the portaloos are just insane. Like some of the things I've seen in portaloos where it's like piled up and out above the toilet,
Yeah.
and it's just people's excrement, and I'm like, who laid it on the top? Like,
who put the final bit of the icing on the cake?
like how did you do that? I actually had which again, I thought this would be a better experience, but it wasn't. So there was a product called I don't know if you've ever heard of this, called a shit box.
No.
So the shit box festival toilet, my mum bought me one when I first went to Glastonbury, and it's a flat pack cardboard box toilet. So I'm just seeing if this still exists. Maybe. Oh yeah, here we go. So this toilet, you would basically take it into your tent, and you could unfold it. You can see it here on the screen now.
Oh, that looks delightful.
Yeah, and it would come with its own carrier bag and stuff, and you could just like fold it out, put your bag in, sit on, do your business, and then wing it over the fence at the back of the festival.
Tie the bag up, throw it on the fire. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had one of these, but I also had a Coleman one-man tent. And as we know, tents are like, it's like when you ask a dude how many sexual partners he's had, and they always say 4 times as many as what it really fits in. So
tents are exactly the same.
Tents are exactly the same, right? If you imagine if you go to a festival with a 4-man tent and there's 4 men sleeping in it, it's like a can of hot dog sausages.
I remember that actually, yeah. And because around festival season as well, like supermarkets and things, it'd start selling tents, and it'd be like, oh, 4-man tent, $29.99. You go, all right, that sounds wicked. Then you get it, and it's like you get in 2 people in there if you're lucky.
Yeah, and I used to, so you can imagine, I worked in a camping shop, so I would always buy one that was at least waterproof. But this one-man tent sat on your shitbox with like the heat of the British sun just sweating the tent against the side of you. You get to that stage and you start to think to yourself, I wish I was just in the Portaloo. Yeah. And you always used to know the people that had no idea about camping and have never camped anywhere before in their life by the state of the tent that they turned up to the festival at. Because you're like, if it rains, you're getting wet. Or the people that camp at the edge of a path, and you're like, oh, that's a schoolboy error.
Oh, yeah, completely. Yeah.
Because either someone's going to flatten that when you're asleep, or it's going to rain and you're going to get like 3 foot of mud over the side of your tent.
Which, yeah, sometimes it can be really extreme. I remember working at Glastonbury, I think it was 2005, something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, it was the year when it rained, or one of the years when it rained like heavily. And it was just unreal, just walking around this, just everything was mud. And I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and we were working for like workers' beer. So it was like serve beer in the tents or whatever. And it's like, okay, we've got to go to work. Where's work? I think it's that massive tent there. All right, cool. And then you just look, and there's this river of mud just where a road used to be, just in front of you, and just like, it's going to be a long day. Just start walking like up to your knees in this stuff. It's crazy.
And I've never actually worked a festival, but as I remember, they're always really generous. So it's like, it's a 4-day festival. We only want you to do 4 12-hour shifts.
I can't remember what it was like. I think it was like maybe 6 or 8 hours a day, something like that. But you got free food, you got some actual beer tokens. And the one good thing is you were in like the workers area. So in there you weren't sharing like toilets with everyone else, like from the regular festival. You had like showers and stuff like that if you wanted them. It was pretty cool. And an actual like little area where there was like a beer and food and things like that. It's the best way to do it in a way.
Yeah. So would you go now and work in the bar at Glastonbury Festival?
Probably not.
No. And so I believe a ticket for Glastonbury now is like £375 or something.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and they could say, right, you all need to line up and we're going to kick you all square in the balls, and you've got to pay us £400 and then you can have a ticket. And people would still do it.
So, yeah, wicked, count me in.
Yeah, and it's full of people saying things like, we welcome refugees and stop the oil, stop the volcanoes.
Yeah. Or whatever happens to be the latest cause.
Yeah. So no, I think festivals, we can safely say, unless we are in the $5,000 yurt with, massages and electric vehicles that take you backstage, so you don't have to experience any time with the shit munchers. It's a hard no.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Do you have anything else that you thought was cool in the past, but not so much now?
Yeah. So for me, playing football management computer games.
That is pretty specific.
Yeah. So when I was like between the ages of 18 and 24, I would probably spend 20 to 30 hours a week playing football management computer games. And just to give you extra context here, because I know, Adam, football is not something that's on your list of things to do, let alone simulated football that's on a computer. These games don't even let you watch the match. So the match itself is just little dots on the screen moving around. And
Okay.
what you do is you build the team and you set the tactics and you train the youth team and you spend various hours like making fake stats for fake football matches in an existing world that is only in your computer. And an average season takes about 10 hours to get through
Right.
of
Um,
gameplay.
yeah. What did you find cool about it to begin with?
I think it's the imagination side of it. It's like you feel like you're the manager of this team and you kind of get invested in the names of the players that you've got. And it's like, come on, Rob, you've got this. Last season, you had a great season. And, I know you had that injury in September and you were out for 3 months, but you've got this, man. Like, I remember when you had a 17 skill and a 15 this, and each player's got like 30 different skill points out of 20. And
Right.
then you're like scouting other players that don't really exist from other teams and trying to find like the latest wonder kid and stuff to bring in for a small amount of money and sell them for a big amount of money. And there's this whole management side of the football club behind it, and it's insanely difficult, like ridiculously hard to do. So people get, about computer game rage, even on like games you're actually doing something and not just watching an imaginary team play imaginary games. The rage level is just insane because you could spend like 10 hours to get to the end of the season and be in a final and then lose 2-1 and have to do another 10 hours to get to the same position.
Oh, right. And so yeah, because you got to go through like a full season every time. So you've
Yeah,
almost like mastered the technique, but not quite. But either way, you've got to wait another 10 hours to find out if your latest change is going to work or not.
yes, exactly. And everything's delayed because things take time to bed in and change and training and all of this kind of stuff. And it was cult. It's cult level. Even today, I think people still play this game, Football Manager. But for me, like I used to just stay awake all night playing it and stop at like 7 a.m. and then sleep for 3 hours and wake up again and play it again. Like while I was a student, that is literally all I did. Even I'd go around to my friend Danny, who was another student doing the same course as me, and I would take my computer and we would set up my computer and his computer in a room, and we're both playing our own Football Manager seasons, not the same game, different, our own different seasons, and just chilling and drinking and smoking, whatever, and just playing these games all night.
Wow. So I mean, it's kind of a social event, but it's probably better social events to go to.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I've never really got fully into the sort of video game side of things, full stop. So I don't really know much about it. But it does sound like such a bizarre thing where it's literally just managing statistics, then working through a season, Oh, missed out. Came second. Start again.
Yeah, you're basically just managing a spreadsheet, but it's made slightly cooler, and you have to answer the media. After a game, the media will come and ask you
Oh, right.
questions, and if you say the wrong thing, you can upset people in your team, or you can upset the club or whatever. If you make the wrong selection, but after you've done that for a season, you've been through every possibility of every answer once already, so you kind of know
Right.
what the outcome is. But yeah, I mean, not even just that. When you said with gaming in general, we used to play a game called Call of Duty, which is like a shoot 'em up, and it was Call of Duty 4 when Xbox Live was quite new. And there was a time in the house I lived in with two other guys where the profile that we had was never offline, and we were just playing like free for alls, which is 10 people all trying to kill each other and get as many points as you can 24 hours a day, because I'd go to work and then come home and play the evening until night, and then my other mates would play like all night, and then someone else would pick it up in the morning and play, and it would just be like,
Right, like some endless wrestling tag team kind of.
yeah, yeah, and just
Wow.
being immensely good at it, so you're always winning, always first, because you just non-stop playing. And we'd have like random mates in like Texas and Alabama and Australia and stuff, because we were just known to be in there all of the time.
That's mental. That's some real dedication.
I must have spent thousands of hours in computer games.
Do you think
Yeah.
it's brought anything to your later life? Did you learn any skills from video games in the past that you later implemented into life?
Well, I'm very, very good now at rolling spring rolls in Vietnam.
Okay,
So
right,
you
yeah.
get the spring rolls where you put the vegetables and the meat stick and the sour mango and a few noodles or whatever, and then you roll them up, and then you pull out the meat.
Yeah.
Like, even though my wife is Vietnamese, I'm better at that than her because I've had so much practice.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so
Those
I'm
things, by the
very
way,
good
are
at that.
amazing. And I'd never heard that as a way to, I've never thought of it as a way to cook meat before, but that thing of putting like minced meat that's been like seasoned on top of some lemongrass and then barbecuing the whole thing, that's really cool and it's delicious. Um,
Yeah, they know their
that's
stuff for sure.
that's a barbecue tip for anybody. Get some lemongrass, get some ground beef or pork, season it up, and throw that on the barbecue. It just gives it this really nice quality.
Yeah, and away you go, basically. Yeah, they definitely know their barbecue meat in this part of the world, that's for sure. So yeah, it got me good at that. I'm also really, really good if I get like some oregano now or something, and I need to crumble it all up into a finer powder so that I can cook and whatnot. So yeah, my cooking and eating skills were improved.
Sounds
I
like you would
suppose
have got good with,
focus,
yeah. So focus and spreadsheets, things like that. I bet you're pretty good at.
reactions for shoot 'em ups, statistical analysis.
Yeah, so maybe it's really benefited your entire life spending all those thousands of hours.
Well, the irony is, had we have kept playing Call of Duty, and as the Xbox world continued moving forward, I'm pretty sure we could be up there in terms of esports. And you can be a multi-millionaire by being very, very good at shoot 'em up computer games now.
I've heard that you can, yeah, but it's very rare the people that actually make it to that millionaire level or getting big payouts compared to the amount of people that want to be one of those people.
Sure, and I mean that's the same with everything in the world. There's like there's the long tail, isn't there? And then there's the exceptions to the rule, and I get it, and I think in gaming even more so because a lot of people sit around doing it. But yeah, I mean for sure, I was very, very good at FIFA for a while. It was like rare that I would meet someone that I wouldn't hand their ass to them in general at that. But everyone tells you that there's no future in playing computer games, and you believe them, and you go and get a job for like some multinational conglomerate and get paid peanuts by them instead.
While they steal your intellectual property.
And your soul. Yeah. So I think, as much as, and sometimes I still get tempted. I have an Xbox, but last year was the first year I didn't buy the latest football game. The year before I did, and played a little bit, but not so much. And now I just don't really have the time. But if I did have the time, I probably would play a couple of hours a day and stuff. It is quite fun. I do quite like Grand Theft Auto as well, because it gives me an opportunity to hit people with baseball bats and not get arrested.
I guess that brought a whole new element into gaming when that came out, because you can just go on there, wander around, and do literally anything.
Yeah,
which is quite a unique idea in some ways, especially to have it to that level of criminality or whatever else.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you that, and what it does. But again, with all of these things, you start to dream about them. It's the same as watching too many series or doing other things. You start to have dreams about them. You start to wake up thinking about them. It's like whatever you put your focus and your energy in, you end up doing that, and it creates open loops in your mind. So if you're midway through a career or a mode or a game or whatever, you've got that open loop in your mind where your brain is using power to keep that open loop running and there.
Sure, because it's when we think of like virtual reality, we think of like those headsets or an Apple Vision Pro or whatever. But really, virtual reality is as simple as, well, like we said before, it can be like a book, but definitely like a TV show or a video game. You're fully immersed into it, and your brain's reacting as if you're in that situation, like quite literally.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't think I maybe regret the time that I spent in there on these games, and it was certainly could have been put towards doing something more beneficial to my future life. But at the same time, yeah, computer games is something that I used to think were cool, and now just think is a total waste of time.
Yeah, I guess that is part of just getting older and things as well, and growing up a little bit and having other priorities and not getting sucked in to what the video game makers want you to be drawn to, because everything with that, it's designed with a purpose, and it's to get people to play it and keep playing it.
Yeah,
just like any other kind of casino.
Yeah, and I mean, we have it the same now with like doom scrolling and shorts and stuff. And I go in and out of times where I ban myself from watching shorts totally, and then other times where I, will watch them. And even if you get to a point where most of them are like beneficial or giving you a good advice or whatever, they still sneak in other stuff to that list. And I think it's quite easy to get sucked into wasting all of your time on these kinds of things.
Yeah, I wonder what the next thing will be in terms of entertainment in some ways, because there's so many things. I mean, some of the things I had on my list for like things I used to think were cool, but not anymore. TV would be one of them. Like back in the day when we were kids or whatever, and there was 4 channels on TV, and then all of a sudden there was 5. But there was always like, say, I don't know, Friday night or something like that. You'd have some really good comedy shows. You'd have something like TFI Friday, where you'd get good music and like a real mix of it and different interviews. But it seemed like there was always something to watch. And then as time went on and you got more like channels and everything else, with Freeview or Sky, whatever else, it just seemed like there was an immense amount of choice, but nothing to actually watch. And TV channels, say like Channel 4 or BBC, in the past they had some shows that were really good,
Yeah.
and it just seems like there's no quality to that anymore. And even shows that I used to think were good, watch them now, and like the latest episode, it's all kind of like overly politically correct. It's almost preaching at you, telling you what to think or whatever else, and it's just like nothing seems to have any humor because they're being too careful about offending people, or maybe they're just not inventive enough to write funny stuff. But it's like everything on TV just seems to have gone like
Yeah.
downhill.
Yeah, it's funny enough. I saw a video yesterday of a sketch from a UK comedy. I can't remember which comedy it is, but it's got Tim Vine and like just proper classic.
Tim Vine's really funny.
Yeah, classic comedian. And I think is it Lee Mack? He was like the other guy, and they're basically
Yeah,
these
really
two police.
quick-witted.
Yeah, this is it. And these two policemen come to the door. Like Lee Mack's one of the policemen, and then there's a woman who I don't know who she was. And the guy in the house is Tim Vine. And they're like, oh, they come along and they're like, oh, it's your birthday today. He's like, yeah, it's my birthday today. They're like, well, we need you to come down to the station. And he's like, oh, right, why? What's going on? Whatever. And they're like, then they start breaking into song as though she's like a strippogram. And then she's like talking through the stuff, and then at the end it's like, your wife is dead. You need you to come to the station to identify her. And it's just like, that's when comedy was comedy, you know, because it's kind of a double. Like you think, he's waiting for his wife to come home because it's his birthday. Oh, she must have sent like a singergram to do something funny, and then it turns out it's actually the police, and they're just really inappropriately singing to him to tell him his wife's dead, and he's got to come and identify her at the station. The TV used to be funny like that. And I think you're right. Like TV has become something that's just bland, and the real funny stuff now is in the depths of YouTube and social media and stuff.
But that was going to be my next thing. And there's more. But so TV kind of is getting replaced by YouTube slowly. YouTube for years was kind of like really cool. You could pretty much say anything on there. You had this huge variety of stuff. In the beginning, you didn't have adverts, or then adverts came along a little bit, but not so much. Now, advertising seems to be the main reason for YouTube. That's what it does. It's like an advertising platform, basically, with some content in between. And all the things that were cool about YouTube in the past, where it did seem a bit more organic, where someone makes a video that's cool, it would get popular. Now everything has to be like SEO'd in the perfect way. You have to be very careful about what you say, and they're not allowing like the freedom of speech for topics that you should be allowed to talk about. And it's kind of become like a BBC pre-Watershed kind of thing to it. For those who don't know, in the BBC, on UK TV, you can't talk about certain topics before 9 p.m. because of apparently that would be bad for children and things. But YouTube seems to have become that, where it was the alternative to TV, but now it's become the same thing. It's full of adverts, and only certain kinds of content seems to be actively promoted, whereas anything outside of that seems to be throttled, as I guess we're finding trying to do this channel.
Yeah, but also they I believe they make it appear like it's still free and open and anyone can do stuff. Because I came across a guy the other day who's like ex-prisoner, covered in tattoos, and he's talking about how people get massive in prison. And he's like a Batman villain. He's like, so I used to think these little half reps didn't work, and then I started doing them in jail, and they worked really well. And it's just him recording himself on his phone, and he's getting millions of views. And it's like, well, it doesn't. So they kind of half occasionally they'll let someone through that they would probably want to throttle to make it appear that it's like open to everybody. But I mean, either everything I do sucks, or it just takes longer or whatever. Because I've had a few YouTube channels, and granted, my own personal YouTube channel for business I didn't continue with because I was busy with other stuff, and that was getting a few hundred views here and there. But even like, I have a family YouTube channel with a vlog that we've started, and first video got like 100 odd views, second video got like 40 or 50, third video's got like 20 views or something on it. And it's SEO, it's proper content, it's in a place where people are interested, there's other content out there, but it just doesn't get anything. So I just don't. But then it could just be that that's always the case when you start out on YouTube,
and you just have to stick with it and give it 6 months or a year.
Yeah, exactly, which we'll report back on when we've got to our 14th subscriber.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I agree. I think maybe there's just so many more people on YouTube now as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the figures are for how many videos get put on YouTube every day, but it must be a staggering amount.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to deal with. But yeah, I think one of the things with it is, it always seemed when YouTube came along, it was like this revolutionary thing. And it was this thing that would just take over traditional sort of media, because you had this instead, and it seemed really open. And it's just now become like the old school media was. And there are alternatives out there, but it's like YouTube is the main thing that holds that monopoly compared to everything else. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the next thing will be. Because if like kind of things like YouTube took over from TV, what will take over from YouTube? I don't know. But I think more and more people are going to get a bit tired of it, because it's becoming this sort of institution that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, just seems to be controlled in so many different ways.
Yeah, and it totally is. I agree. I think it's definitely not as cool as it was when it first came around, but it's also there is also a lot of stuff in there if you find the right niche for things where you can get decent videos and things to watch. I mean, even things like I sit and watch like the Outdoor Boys sometimes if I've got something to watch, because at least they're traveling somewhere or they're camping or whatever. It's like, it's mildly entertaining, and I feel like things like travel shows of the past have been totally replaced by YouTube, because you can find travel shows of every different possible kind of person, and somewhere there'll be a person that you resonate with and are quite happy to watch them go and travel and do stuff,
Yeah, well, I guess, and not just that, you could be going to some really obscure place in some little visited country, and there'll be someone on YouTube that's been there and made a video, which is like, it's really cool in that respect as well. It's not just like, oh, well, on BBC One this week, we're going to somewhere in Cyprus. It's like, it can be anywhere, and there'll be some video in it and some advice and all those kinds of things, which does make it cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Judith Chalmers, but I mean, what can you do?
Exactly. Looking orange and leathery.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, is there anything else on your list of things that used to be cool but has now been killed by everything? Maybe nothing's been killed and it's just us becoming middle-aged miserable men.
Yeah, it could be. I did see a funny quote the other day. It's not exactly a quote, but Bill Murray said something along these lines. He was like, well, decades ago, we had Steve Jobs, we had Johnny Cash, we had Bob Hope. Now we've got no Jobs, no Cash, and no Hope. Please don't let Kevin Bacon die.
I like that. That does pretty much sum it up. Yeah. Rose-tinted spectacles, as well as the other part of it, is like, I think sometimes you look back and you think things are not as good now, but maybe we just don't need a lot of the things we said were entertainment or fashion or whatever. The older you get, the less you kind of need these things, the more satisfied you are without needing all of these extra things to entertain yourself.
I think with some things as well, it's like when the sort of rose tinted glasses thing, you look back and go, oh, yeah, that was really cool. But that's how you thought of it at the time. you've got to remember that since you were like 17 years old, your brain's developed a lot. And so your capacity to actually understand things or comprehend things or reasons why you like stuff at the age of 17 compared to the age of 37 are vastly different. And I think
Yeah,
that's part of it.
yeah, of course, because just because you thought like certain type of joke or a certain type of video or whatever was good, or spreadsheets with little fake dudes. Apparently, Football Manager now does have little men running around on the
Oh,
screen.
so you can,
But
right. Maybe you should get
I,
back into it.
I'm in recovery, so I won't be. I won't be putting myself down that route again. That's yeah, I couldn't possibly. It's yeah, I would have to pay to go through Football Manager rehab again. Ironically, someone did get a job as a football manager because of their skills on Football Manager, and then so it did lead to them becoming an actual manager of a football team. But
Like
that's a
a big
story.
team or...
No, like a third division Swedish team. But then I think he did quite well and ended up getting some other jobs out of it. But yeah, so I think, you know, I wonder what we will look back on when we are 60 and think that we thought was cool when we were 40. And we'll obviously still be making these podcasts by then. So we will report back and do another episode in 20 years' time.
Exactly. To our 17 subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have definitely got another 5 subscribers by then. So next week we will be diving into more of this middle-aged madness that we're going through, but we've not exactly planned out what that's going to look like yet. So it's going to be a surprise for those of you that have sat here to the end. The next episode will be something else related to being a miserable middle-aged man. So, you know, get that on your excited list and mark it down for next week's launch on Saturday.
Maybe we could do like an extra long episode about back pain.
Yeah, back pain.
3.5 hours of lower back pain.
Ailments. Yeah, ailments for middle-aged men. How we deal with our various ailments. And most of it is just ignore it because, you know, doctors are pretty rubbish and don't know the answers to most of these things anyway. But
and it's inconvenient, and so I know better than a doctor.
Exactly. I'm just going to chat GPT it. Yeah. All of the views here are just of us, and nobody please take this as medical advice because it absolutely isn't. Well, Adam, until next time.
I guess that's it.
See you again next week.
Goodbye.